So I asked everybody in the audience if they had a chance to put together some questions or any questions you want to ask. I got some pretty good feedback from everybody, so that was good. And I'm going to start right with the questions, if you don't mind. So one of the questions was, why is it important for small business owners to engage in social networking?
Happy to jump in there. Yes. So, one of the things that we're always talking with small business owners is that one of the things that you have is you usually have a lot of energy, and you have a lot of, well, you may not have time, but you may have more time than money. And so social networking it's a free tool. Most of the platforms are free that's available to you. And it's something that a lot of your prospects and client base, your current install base, are already utilizing. So by putting together a strategy where you can basically join the conversation, you may not be able to sell through social networks or sell online. A lot of people saying, I can't sell something through LinkedIn, but you may be able to have the opportunity to influence, and that's through dialogue and open conversations. That's the first thing. The second thing really is that you have the ability to gain valuable feedback from your prospects and your customers that you're engaging with, feedback that you wouldn't normally have access to. You think of back in the day when a lot of us, when we had companies, and especially coming from the marketing world, we'd have these big, expensive focus groups to try to figure out what people wanted and what was important to them. And now you have this great platform where you're able to listen, gain customer insight, gain feedback and knowledge in real time, and also help contribute to their conversation as well. So those are the two big things I would say.
Yeah, I would just like to add that, I think it's really important for people to understand that a lot of these social network channels, they are marketing channels, much like advertising channels, but it's a completely different dynamic. It's kind of the new dynamic that people almost have to use now in order to reach out to kind of how the customers are interacting with the internet. So just as an example, let's say that you have a product or something like that that you sell on Amazon, and we've all, quick show of hands, who shopped on Amazon.com? Who's ever bought something there? Okay, almost everybody, right? So you see an ad for something like maybe a TV, and you say, oh well, it's got great specs. Let me go buy it on Amazon, but then it has terrible reviews. Well, what are you going to believe? Are you going to believe the advertisement, which obviously has an agenda trying to sell you that product, or are you going to believe these at least mostly unbiased reviews of a product? That's kind of just a quick example of kind of this power of social networking, how this dynamic is influencing people's purchasing decisions, whether it's a product or a service or anything like that. So it's really, really important for people to try to convert other people into proponents of their product or service, because then they'll be the ones doing the marketing for you on your behalf, basically. And their word of mouth is going to be much more powerful than any advertisement that you could put out on your own.
Good. Next question is, how can social networking have an impact on a company's bottom line?
Yeah, well, I'm happy to take this one. Since a lot of what we do is around lead generation and influence, well, obviously, if people are talking more about your product, if they're taking advantage of potential contests or offers that you're giving away, if you're building more of a fan culture, I say fan culture, evangelists, I guess, about your service or about your company, obviously, these are all things that you're helping to grow and foster a community of potential sales and prospects, so that can actually translate into revenue. In addition to that, there are a lot of things that you can do to help capture leads. Obviously, it's what we do, capture leads through the conversations, through discussions. And I think that revolves around listening, understanding people's pain points, and then engaging them in a strategic way that gets them into your sales funnel, into, let's say, maybe not an off social network demand generation campaign.
Yeah, I mean, really, all these social network tools, there's still going to be, no replacement for face-to-face communication. And really, kind of purpose of them is to, to capture, identify, opinion leaders, identify people who may be interested in your service, and then bring that conversation offline through maybe a telephone call and ultimately, hopefully, a face-to-face meeting, something like that. But I mean, any of these tools, they're still marketing tools, and marketing is what can help grow that bottom line because it helps get awareness of your product or service out into the marketplace. So it's critical to at least be aware of these tools and identify which ones are going to be most effective for your business.
I can just jump in there one as well. Is that as much as it can impact your bottom line in the positive, the other thing you have to do is worry about it impacting your bottom line in the negative. So one of the things is that, and I hear this often from people, is that, all right, well, we've just made the conscious decision not to participate in social networks as a company. Great, but just because you've made that decision doesn't mean your customers are going to make that decision as well. So at the very least, if you take away anything from today, is that you should at least monitor what people are saying about your company, your product, and service online as a type of crisis communications plan. And so that's the one thing I will say. So if you're not as concerned about the positive impact, at least be concerned about the negative impact of your bottom line.
Yeah, definitely. Is anybody familiar with what happened to Domino's Pizza a little while ago? So a couple of employees for Domino's decided to make a video of themselves defiling pizza products and things like that, and then posted it on the internet because they thought it would be hilarious as a gag. And it got in the first day it had tens of thousands of hits, and Domino's said, oh, well, we'll just ignore it. In the next 24 hours, it peaked over 1 million views of this video. And the way YouTube counts videos, they only count it as a view if someone actually reaches kind of the end of the video. So there were probably a lot of people who watched it and said, I can't stand it anymore. Well, if Domino's had been proactive about this, if they had nipped in the bud from the start, which they ultimately had a relatively good response to it, they might have been able to limit the damage a little bit more. But they waited a little too long. When they did finally respond, they made the correct decision of responding through the same channels as that initial conversation was taking place. So, as AJ was saying, kind of crisis communications. Well, let's say that you're monitoring, Twitter or something like that. Some people are posting, negative reviews about your product or service. Well, that's where you would need to combat those negative reviews. It doesn't help to issue a press release, through the regular media channels because that's not where the conversation is taking place. You need to go back to the original source to kind of make your case for it. But yeah, just monitoring those channels is definitely very critical.
Can I just ask, is it possible that you want us to ask questions?
You can.
Yeah, actually, I think
If it's one-off,
I think it'd be great
if it's based on the same.
Well, I'm
yeah.
just wondering what the response that was.
So the response was basically the president of Domino's Pizza recorded a video because the original thing happened on YouTube. So he recorded a video and basically said, okay, this was an isolated incident. This does not represent the vast majority of our franchisers. This hurts basically thousands of honest employees that we have. This does not represent us. These people have been dealt with. They've basically been arrested, and we apologize, and we hope that you'll
And that was a
continue.
video also?
That was a video also. It was posted on YouTube, basically as a response to this original video, and it received a pretty good reception, as good of a reception as it could from still coming from kind of the top down. But it was maybe not a model for how to respond in that kind of crisis situation, but it was a good example of how to respond.